Weather for Weather Geeks time. It's the Tuesday evening edition, another action-packed video that hopefully won't run too long. We've got a lot to talk about. Very, very active wintry pattern coming up over the next 10 days or so with opportunities for wind and cold and some snow as well. And we'll talk about all that in the next, hopefully, 6 or 7 minutes. All right, it wasn't snow but rain today, cold rain. And as we advertised, an average of about a half an inch worth of rain, third to a half an inch anyway. We had about a half an inch in downtown Youngstown and in Boardman, as well as Canfield, Latonia, Guilford, New Waterford, and pretty close to a half an inch Hermitage over to Mercer as well. The radar's quiet this evening, but this is one of those kind of deceptive radars. First of all, a 12-hour loop here shows the rain pushing in around midday and continuing into early this evening. Now, it is still drizzling and misting in a lot of spots this evening. Definitely need to have the wipers on from the little bit of drizzle and mist and the water being kicked up off the road. The radar, again, a little bit deceptive out there this evening. We did not deal with snow here locally today, but in some of the higher terrain in northern PA, southern New York, yeah, they're getting some wet snow there from the Poconos up onto the into the Catskills in New York and heading over towards Williamsport, PA. All right, as we go through the night tonight, clouds hang tough. Could be a little drizzle for a while. I think tomorrow actually is the best day we're going to have for some time. Now, it's not exactly going to be a super balmy day, but I think we can see some sunny breaks as we get into the midday and afternoon. That'll help us get into the upper 30s to around 40. Clouds roll back in with our first Arctic front. Now, this Arctic blast is going to come in kind of two waves. First one behind the first front Thursday will not bring much moisture with it. The lake effect's going to have a hard time getting organized until Thursday night into Friday, so I don't think much happens Thursday. Maybe there's a flurry or two in the afternoon, but most of this will be aimed up towards Erie and into southwest New York. Notice our wind streamlines here, mostly out of the west to southwest on Thursday, and that's not a good wind direction for us to get lake effect snow. That changes Friday, though. Notice on Friday, we have a little more of a northerly component to the wind in northeast Ohio and northwest PA, and I think there'll be some fingers of lake effect that do manage to get into our viewing area, and it will be problematic for some, especially up in the primary snow belts, lake effect snow watch. Lake Geauga, Ashtabula, heading over into Crawford and Erie County, PA. Now here's the National Weather Service snow forecast through Friday. Look at these numbers up in southwest New York. 26 inches in parts of Chautauqua, Cattaraugus counties in New York State, and perhaps even up to a foot in northern Crawford County in PA. The Weather Service does have a 1 to 3 area, about as far south as Interstate 80, maybe a little farther south, but I think this is reasonable as a first stab at things. I think particularly north of Interstate 80, a couple or a few inches of snow, and maybe even a handful of inches of snow up towards Kinsman, Mespo, then heading over towards Greenville. Yeah, that's certainly a possibility in a lot of lake effect events. Our far northern viewing area gets a handful of inches of snow, while Columbiana County might get you might get a dusting on the car tops. That's probably how this lake effect event will go as well. So that's the Weather Service's first stab. We'll put out a map probably tomorrow. All right, going to roll through this graphic fairly quickly. Here's the wind chills Thursday morning in the teens. Air temperatures in the 20s, west wind at 12, and wind chills probably stay in the teens just about all day Thursday, a lot of Friday, and heading into Saturday as well, not much better than about 20 for a wind chill Saturday afternoon. Now, I don't think there's as much wind on Saturday as compared to Friday, but the air temperature Saturday is probably a couple of degrees colder, so that'll make a little bit of a difference. So, hoping to pack the ice castle with fans on Saturday for the YSU playoff game, and anybody who's going definitely needs to bundle up. That is for sure. It's going to be cold, but at least it's not going to be as windy as Friday. All right, longer range. Interesting doings here in the longer range. Here's our first Arctic cold snap associated with this upper low that's dragging the cold air down out of the prairies of Canada. That's going to roll through. Gets pretty cold for a few days. Here's Friday morning, kind of when we're at our, our Friday during the day into Friday night, kind of when we're at our coldest here. At least we won't be below zero like our friends up in the Dakotas and Minnesota. All right, cold for a few days. The pattern kind of relaxes a little bit, briefly. We'll get into the middle, maybe upper 30s for a day or two. This is on Sunday into Monday. Our flow here mostly out of the west-southwest, so it won't be super cold again by the end of the weekend. But look what's building. Another Arctic blast up here in Canada. And you're going to see the old polar vortex meander down across southern Canada. There it is, across Hudson Bay. This is a lobe of the polar vortex. Going to park over southeastern Canada during the middle of next week. Now, this is about Thursday of next week, so about 9 days from now. This will be the coldest air of the season so far. Quite a bit colder than the one that's coming in the next couple of days. This will bring us a chance of maybe some overnight temperatures in the single digits. It'll bring us a chance of daytime highs, maybe only in the mid-20s, for a couple of days during the second half of next week. So here's what I did with the 10-day temperature trend. We haven't shown a temperature trend like this very often all year in 2016. Of course, it's been a very warm year, and it was a warm winter last winter, but every single day in the next 10, at least a little bit below average. Tomorrow and Monday, the 2 days closest to average, but pretty good cold shot Thursday through Saturday, and then probably a more intense one for the second half of next week. Now, does it stick around after that? You know, I've been talking about in these videos that there's no guarantee that it gets cold and just locks in and stays that way for the rest of December. And there are computer model arguments out there for a warmer, at least more tolerable period in the week around Christmas. Here's the latest climate forecast system model for the 21st through the 26th. So right around Christmas time, showing warmth, at least relative to averages, in the east with more cold weather out across the northern Rockies. Now, I think this is reasonable, but I don't want to guarantee this at this point. The pattern's too volatile in the longer range. This could be total nonsense. I think it's reasonable at this point, but you know, there's enough volatility in the pattern that this could end up just being wrong, and so we're going to update the ideas, of course, as we get closer to Christmas. What I do think will happen now is we'll get our next, frigid shot at the end of next week. The pattern will at least relax some closer to Christmas, so I don't think we're going to see the kind of cold at Christmas that we'll see at the end of next week. Now, is it as warm as the model is showing here? Low confidence on that. But I do think that it's reasonable to suggest that it won't be as cold at Christmas as it will be at the end of next week. So we shall see. Stay tuned for future editions of Weather for Weather Geeks. I'll see you on 21 News at 11 o'clock, and more Weather Geeks coming your way on Wednesday.